Hey guys, it's Radhika again. So we're on the med school prep part of our video series, and we're going to continue with what we started talking about last time, the extracurricular component of your journey to medical school. So last time what I did is I went over types of activities you can get involved in, things that previous students have gotten involved in. Now, I gave you an exhaustive list of just the kinds of activities, not even specific activities themselves. And you're probably thinking, oh my God, how can I, get involved in all of these things? And the thing is, you can't. So you have to pick and choose what it is that you want to spend your time doing. And so we really gave this some thought, and we said, why don't we leave you with some advice that we've kind of gathered throughout the years as to how you want to select the activities, the extracurricular activities to get involved in. All right, so bear with me, let's get started. All right, so here are one of the pieces of advice that I want to begin with. First and foremost, when you choose an extracurricular activity, you have to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, right? If you are embarking on taking on this activity that you're going to give time to, and you think you're doing it not because you enjoy it, but because medical schools will like it, not a good reason to take up that activity. You think it'll look great for medical schools, you think it'll make you a stronger candidate, it may or may not. But what you have to remember is that there are other things that they really look for in a strong candidate. Mostly your academic component, right? How strong your GPA is, how strong of an MCAT score it is that you received. Your extracurricular activities are for you. They're for you to take your time and devote it towards something that's non-academic in nature, most of the time at least. So you have to do it for you because you find true enjoyment out of that, okay? Now, and the reason for this is a lot of students, when they go on to do their med school interview, or when they're talking about certain activities that they've been part of in their personal statement, if it's an activity that you participated in that you truly enjoy, you can speak about it very, very passionately. And medical schools and the committees can see the passion kind of just emanating from a candidate. Now, if you took something because you thought it would be the right kind of activity to get involved in for medical school, the downfall to that is that you won't be able to speak about it as passionately as would another candidate, and they can see that right away too. So make sure that the reason is that you derive enjoyment out of this, and that is why you're doing it. It is your time and it is valuable at the end of the day. Okay, so another thing, the duration of the activity really, really matters. They want to see that you are committed to something. You know why? Because med school and becoming a physician are two activities that are going to require a lot of commitment from you. They want to see that you chose certain activities and that you were committed to excelling in those activities. On top of that, they want to see that those activities that you chose required some level of responsibility from you. The higher the level of responsibility, the more things that you were accountable, the better that activity kind of is. They want to basically see long-term commitment, not any superficial involvement for the sake of being involved, okay? So as an example, what I'll tell you is that it's better being involved in an activity that runs maybe once a week for 14 weeks. So essentially, you're engaged in this activity 14 times rather than every day for just 2 weeks, which is the same amount of time, but you're not showing that long-term dedication and that duration that they're looking for, okay? So duration matters. You also want to make sure that you choose activities that help you stand out. Now, this has to be in accordance to activities that you actually like, which I've already mentioned. So every applicant that gets to applying to medical school usually has a very competitive GPA and MCAT score. And admissions committees don't talk about the applicants with the 4.0 GPA or the 95th percentile MCAT score in most senses. But they do remember the candidate who started a project that was completely out of the sciences to kind of help with the community. They do remember somebody who, kind of spent an insane number of their hours helping at a soup kitchen. And these are the things, like I mentioned, that add dimension and depth to your application. Yes, you have a skeleton that's built by achieving the prerequisites, having a high GPA, having a competitive MCAT score. Now, to fill that skeleton in, with meat and with character, they're looking for your extracurricular activities. So you want to make sure you're engaging in activities that are A, enjoyable to you, but B, also make you stand out as a good, strong applicant and candidate. All right, next thing. They also like activities which allow you to seek leadership roles. And the reason being is because physicians are perceived as local leaders in their communities. They're kind of up to date on world knowledge or world occurrences. They know everything that's going on in the scientific community, especially the specialty that they practice in. And they're kind of known to be a good voice in advocating for better health care and better day-to-day living. So they are perceived as leaders. Now, if you can engage yourself in extracurricular activities where that leadership becomes very, very prominent, what they can do is almost make an attribution. And they can say that this person has demonstrated these leadership skills and they've had time to kind of focus and hone in on them. And as a result, I think they would be a good candidate for medical school because they've already been exposed to what it means to be a community leader. Okay. Also, you want to choose activities that address your own weakness. And this is great because it shows that you are willing to do what it takes to overcome or at least work on those weaknesses. And I'll give you an example here. If you're a very shy individual who absolutely detests speaking to a crowd of people, then take a public speaking course. Get involved in activities that allow you to kind of interact with different kinds of people or to speak in front of a crowd, because what it shows at the medical schools is that not only are you cognizant of certain weaknesses that you may possess, that you do have this desire to overcome them. And because this field is about consistent learning, it's a great way to showcase that you're on board and you are willing to not only address those weaknesses, but to learn from them. Okay, so mixed medical and non-medical activities. And this is extremely important. I've said this a few times already, but do not be a pre-med drone. Don't get involved in activities that you think the medical schools will like and will, kind of spotlight you as a strong candidate. You want to get involved in things perhaps in the humanities, because in the humanities, what you're exposed to is a ton of interaction. And that's great as a future physician. So I want to see that there's some way in which you were able to kind of gain potential skills to interact with patients. And that may be through a retail job where you were dealing with customers through all walks of life. And this kind of expands on my next point here. Expand your cultural horizons. Try to deal with people from different socioeconomic backgrounds, from different cultures, from different walks of life, and see if you can not only interact with people, but cooperate with them in order to lead to some meaningful action. Were you able to help somebody out that had a language barrier or some sort of a learning disability? Because what these kinds of activities indicate and what they show is that you have the right kind of sensitivity, the skills, and the aptitude to actually be a good physician. Because there's no guarantee that the people who you're going to see, the patients that you're going to see as a physician, will not have any language barriers. They may have communication issues in the sense that because of old age, they can't comprehend and understand what you're trying to say. And a lot of one-on-one interaction between patient and physician becomes a troubleshooting kind of activity where you're trying to figure out, what is the best means for me to actually interact with my patient? How do I get across what I'm trying to say? And when you expose yourself to various cultural horizons, you know, people from different cultures with different backgrounds, different religions, that grew up speaking different languages of a multitude of ages, you, without realizing, are kind of getting yourself to focus and perfect skills that you need as a future physician. And just one more point of interest here. Make sure you don't overdo it. Your goal in mind at the end of the day is to make sure you exceed as well academically as possible. You cannot let anything kind of sacrifice or get in the way of you achieving the best that you possibly can in terms of your GPA and your MCAT score. So get involved in extracurricular activities. Make sure you address some of the points that are on this slide, but make sure you don't overdo it. Do not do anything that'll jeopardize your academic progress, okay? That means that some of the activities that we talked about in the last video, clinical experience, volunteering, work, scholarships and awards, you may not be able to partake in all of these things. It's actually impossible to partake in all of these things, and by no means should you, but you should be able to really engage and do activities that you enjoy and that you're able to learn certain skills out of. Okay, so the takeaway messages from this video mostly are, I guess I'll split them up into three. First and foremost, make sure you get yourself involved in extracurricular activities. They're fun. So that being said, second thing, make sure you diversify your activities, but that you're doing them for you, that you're finding true enjoyment out of engaging in these activities. And third, and I think most importantly, make sure you don't forget that your focus is still to excel academically speaking while keeping the extracurricular component in mind. Okay, so I hope you found this talk useful, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, take care.